Welcome to the Wall to Wall podcast, brought to you by Wall Ed Tech, where your host, Jared and Kari Wall's passion for technology and learning come together to bring you up-to-date information on what's going on in and out of the classroom. From the latest apps and best practices to current trends, this podcast is Wall to Wall Ed Tech.
Hi, and welcome back to Wall Podcast. This is Kari Wall, and I'm here with my co-host,
Jared.
And we have made it to episode 11. We're going to be talking about using Google tools in the classroom. This is our Google Doc edition.
Welcome back, everyone. We're happy to be here today to talk about Google Docs. Before we get started with the episode, however, some news and notes. I don't know if you saw it come across Twitter, but be paying attention. We are having another contest, and we were so happy to see our winner got her prize package from the last contest. She seemed to like that. And so we're running another contest, and it has to do with Twitter. If you will follow us on Twitter, and if you will retweet and like one of our podcast episodes, it doesn't matter if it's a past episode or a current episode that's coming out, follow us. If you're already following us, good for you. Like or retweet one of our podcasts, and we will enter your name into a drawing for a $25 Amazon gift card from Wall Ed Tech. So we're trying to get the word out about our podcast and get some more teachers involved in the conversation and listening to the training. I was talking to Miss Wall today, and it shocks me that right now, we have a pretty good bit of listeners, but we don't get a lot of feedback on Twitter when we post our questions.
There's not a whole lot of traffic going on.
And so what we would really like is to think there's a lot more teachers out there who either know how to use technology and are excited about it like we are. We're very passionate about it. Or that there are teachers out there who want to use technology and they're just not sure how. Either way, you should be listening to our podcast, checking out our resources. So to motivate those of you who are listening, follow us. Retweet one of our podcast episodes. We got $25 winner out there for an Amazon gift card. We will draw on November 11th and then announce that via Twitter to the person who won the drawing. So we're looking forward to that.
Who doesn't want a $25 Amazon card?
Right.
You can get anything there, right?
We also want to make sure you know that one of our upcoming episodes that Nikki Laverne gave us the idea for, she shared it on Flipgrid that last podcast we did, that she's looking for us to talk about ideas of how to teach your class when you're not there. And so we're looking for feedback from you. There is a Flipgrid link in our show notes. There's also a question on Twitter that you can respond to and leave us some of the tools you're using technology-wise to teach class when you can't be there physically.
Now, I kind of made the post on Wall Ed Tech, then I went to my personal Twitter account and I replied to it just to kind of hopefully jumpstart, and then I think I saw that you did too. But we know what we do every day, but we want to know what other people do as well. And I don't know if you're a lot like me, but at school, I don't get the opportunity to talk with a whole lot of teachers. I'm in my class, they're in their class, we're all doing our own thing. And, of course, like our PLC is kind of designated toward a certain area that we're focusing on. And otherwise, I don't get a whole lot of conversation, so I don't get to talk to people. So I want to know what people are doing, and I want people to share.
Tweet Kari Wall, Kari at walledtech.com. Email her. Leave her a Flipgrid. She needs to hear from you.
Yes.
All right, what about our technology tools and trends?
Well, the first thing I just kind of wanted to touch base with about is classroom management reminders. We've been in school, for us, we've been in school already 9 weeks, but other schools may not quite be that far along yet, but we're getting close. And just a reminder about classroom management is to stay consistent with your procedures and your expectations, especially in regard to technology. All students have to sign the technology acceptable use policy at the beginning of the year. Teachers have to sign it. And just a quick reminder to your students and for you to be able to stay consistent doesn't hurt. It's kind of at that point, we're in for the long haul. There's not many breaks going on, and we've kind of got to just grin and bear it and get through to the holidays to get a break. So it's a good time just to kind of do a refresher. The other thing I wanted to say that I found out, I actually found this on Twitter. I've played with it myself. I have not used it in the classroom yet, but it's something I'm kind of looking into. is ChatterPix, and that's ChatterPix. And it's an app for smartphones or iPads, and most of the examples that I saw on Twitter kind of go with younger kids, like early childhood, like really early. But I started thinking of ways I could use this even with my high school students. But it's an app that allows a student to take a picture of anything or find an image that they have saved. And by simply drawing a line across the mouth or where you want the mouth to be on the image, it has a place where you can record what they're saying. And so it's a 30-second time limit, or what I've played around with, that's what it is. It's a 30-second time limit. So students know, they have to know exactly what they're going to say before the recording, and it makes their picture talk. And so it's called ChatterPix. And
that sounds cool.
One of the examples I saw was the kids like I said, this is really early childhood. So the kids were learning, it was pre-K, and they were learning the pledge. And so they had colored little pictures of like a little girl or a little boy, and they had done it all in red, white, and blue, and they had their little picture colored. And so they took a picture of their coloring sheet, and then they were able to draw the line across the mouth, and then they were able to hear themselves recite the pledge, and they made their little picture talk. So it was just kind of cool, but I could see using this as I've talked about Bitmoji, and high schoolers love Bitmoji, and one of the things I could see doing with this is maybe, set a goal for this week and use your Bitmoji. So that would be the image that they could use, and that's just one way. Or you can do a 30-second summary of what they read, or something like that. But it's kind of geared more, I feel like, toward younger children, which I kind of wanted to touch on because, we're high school and middle school, so we kind of go with the older kids, but I kind of wanted to kind of shift it just a little bit and give our listeners who are teachers of some, like the younger kids, something that they could just check out. So if you use this or you check it out, let us know, and let us know what you can do with it.
All I know about this app is that I got a picture of our mascot for Wall Ed Tech, which is our little Yorkie, Abby.
Yes.
And it was a picture of Abby, and she was talking to me in a high-pitched voice. So that's what I know about ChatterPix. Moving on, but it looked cool. Moving on to my tool real quick, English teachers and even social studies teachers, if you're using Google Docs, you got to check out the add-on for Google Docs called, and actually it's a Google Chrome add-on called CheckMark. Download it, install it to your Google Chrome. It will let you in Google Docs set up grading templates. So if you're grading an essay and you're constantly having to mark grammar errors, comma errors, spelling errors, capitalization errors, as an English teacher, I get tired of writing the same thing over and over again when I grade papers. CheckMark creates a template. You highlight where the error is in the Google Doc, and then you just click the little button that says comma splice or run on, and it automatically creates a little comment on the side, tells them what that error is with one click of a button. It also counts all of the errors that are the same. So if you got a student, when you're done, if they had 15 capitalization errors, it'll tell you 15 of those type errors, and that student and you will know where they need to focus their time on their writing. So go grab CheckMark. It's free. They have updated it so you can create as many templates as you want, title them. I use them for argumentative writing. I have a template for narrative writing. I have a different template. So go check that out, use it, and let me know what you think about it through Twitter or at our Flipgrid.
And I will say, I had discovered the CheckMark on Twitter, and that's when I saw it, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool. And when I saw it, of course, I thought about you teaching English, and I thought this was something, and I will vouch, I see him using this all the time, and he really talks about how wonderful it is.
It's made my life a lot easier.
Good.
So our show for today is teaching with Google Docs. It sounds simple, but what we have discovered in our time teaching, no matter where we are, The simple things seem to be the things that teachers need to be either reminded of or told about so they can make their lives easier as well. We want you working smarter, not harder as a teacher. So if you are blessed enough to be in a district with one-to-one devices, and hopefully you have access to Google accounts in your district, Google for Education accounts for your student and for teachers, we're going to talk about today how we use Google Docs in our classroom. So what is a Google Doc? Let's start with that.
Well, a Google Doc is a word processing application, kind of just really like Microsoft Word. And so, but everything's online, everything's saved on the cloud, and it automatically saves for you and all of that. It's not like like Word, you have to have a jump drive, you have to save it to a file, you have to do all of that. It's just like a Microsoft document. You can even download it as a Microsoft Word document once you've completed whatever you're doing with it as well. But
so what we have here is we've said it's like a Microsoft Word document because you can type in it and you can do word processing. But Google Docs, because of where it's located online, does so much more, and it's the so much more we want to talk about today. So Think about it like a Word document if you've used one of those, but now let's talk about what it does beyond word processing. And so here's some ways we're using Google Docs in the classroom. First of all, if you want to use it as a single user document, you can use it to replace worksheets. So as an English teacher, I'm just going to talk about this here. I use Google Classroom. I create my activities. You might go into another classroom and a teacher's passing out worksheets, got 30 worksheets a class, passing them out, picking them up, grading them. All I have to do is create my activities in a Google Doc, and then I share that through Google Classroom. Every student gets their own copy, and I can grade that work electronically in Google Docs. That's a great way to save paper and replace your worksheets, but not just worksheets. And nobody wants a teacher who's just handing out worksheets. I don't use them for worksheets per se. But if you're also, as an English teacher, if I take my text that I'm having students read and I electronically create those texts in a Google Doc, I put the paragraph numbers in just like they would see on a state assessment. My students read and annotate right there in the Google Doc, and then the text questions, the close read questions, text analysis questions, all happen right in that same Google Doc with the text that they've annotated. So really I'm replacing the textbook and all of those worksheet type activities with a Google Doc. Saves me lots of paper, lots of time wasted handing things out. They just click and they have it. Number two, I can leave feedback directly on their work, whether it's while they're working, because I've shared it with them in Google Classroom. I have a copy too. So while students are in class working, I can have their Google documents pulled up. I'll open up all 12 or 15 people I'm teaching, and I will click through them and watch them work, and I can make sure they're on task. I can leave them feedback to help them answer a question better while they're working, or I can wait till they turn it in and then give them feedback after the fact. I use this for essay writing as well. So as students work through and build, they do their pre-write, they do their rough draft. Now they can share that Google Doc with another student and get peer editing. And then I can come in, give them my feedback as well, and then they can rewrite all in the same document, shared with me and maybe shared with a peer for peer editing. So we're talking about going beyond what Microsoft Word lets you do and beyond what a worksheet would let you do. Now we're doing all of this inside a Google Doc, and that's just one way that we're using Google Docs.
Well, you were talking about how you're able to, you have access to this as the teacher anywhere that you have internet.
Right.
And so one of the beauties of using Google tools in the classroom is that you always have access to it. And when I'm saying always, I mean, I was getting my hair done and I had my iPad out and I was able to just sit there and I was grading while I was getting my hair done.
Absolutely.
And so you have access, so you can do this in the car. If we're on, taking a drive somewhere, you can do this. And
at night, propped up in bed while I'm
right.
I can give feedback to my students. Always better feedback when I'm comfortable at home,
Oh, yeah.
stretched out, and I'm able to like just use my phone or my iPad to leave some feedback. It's fantastic. But let's go past the single user experience, just a student working a worksheet or writing an essay. Let's talk about collaborative experiences, which is where Google really hits the mark here. What I do in my class is I can take a document, create a template, and then I can share that template with pairs of students who are going to work together, or groups of students. I can assign it to multiple students in one group, or even a whole class. And so we talk about group work. I can assign a group research project in a Google Doc, and all the students can be working together in one document to complete the activity. So everybody can sign up for a role. I can see where each student did their work, because if I look at the history of the Google Doc, each student is given a different color, and I can make sure each student participated like they were supposed to in that document. Even better, I like to do sort of a back channel chat feature in my class where I give a shared document to the whole class, and then there's places for them to answer questions, ask questions of each other, and have conversations about what we're doing, all inside this Google Doc. And so you can set up these experiences where students work together, not on separate documents, but in one place, do all their work together, and it's truly a collaborative experience with a click of a few buttons. Now, Ms. Wall wants me to stop here, and she's going to talk to you about making sure if you use them collaboratively, you talk to your students about using them correctly first.
Right. You must always set those expectations. I do it prior to opening the document, because how I use it in my classroom is I share a document for the class, and they know all I do is open the document. And I tell them, don't click on it, because just as soon as they open, they want to click. And then you have their little color with their little username just popping up all over your screen. And so I tell them, stop. So my students know that we just open it. You don't do anything else until you have all of your instructions. And so we look at it together, but you've got to set those expectations. My students, you must be respectful. If you are not allowed to say it out loud in class, do not say it on the document either. So we always want to be respectful, and you have to remind the students of this. And I do this every time we have a collaborative document, which is a couple of times a week, and I remind them of these expectations. And do not delete anyone else's work. Do not type that you are Jared if you're really Kari. Just put your information on there. And so if you set those expectations, the students will meet them. And, I always tell them, if you can't follow these simple procedures, then you're not allowed to do this activity. And this, how I use it in my classroom is as a collaborative document, and that's what we call it, is a collaborative document. And whatever project we happen to be working on, and we do, based on my content, we use Microsoft because that's what I'm required to teach. However, I incorporate Google in there all the time and every chance I get, which is multiple times a day. But my students use the Google Doc, and they know, just open it, it's there. And all of their instructions for whatever project they're working on is also posted on this Google Doc. Underneath the instructions, there's a table that I have set up, and basically it's a Q&A board is what it's for. So students are allowed to ask a question, and if they know the answer to a question that's on there, they're able to respond to another student's answer on there, so that is a way for them to go back. And then they also have access to this from home. So if they're working on their assignment or their project at home and they don't know how to do something, they don't always have access to me or to their classmates, then they can go and look at this document, and I tell them, maybe somebody else already asked the question, so go check it out. And so they check it out, and they're able to, they're collaboratively, I can't say that today, but they're working together, and they're all working, and they have access to this. And again, you can check that version history, and you can see if somebody does do something that you don't approve of, you can always go back and check and see who did that.
Fantastic. And yes, it's Collaboratively was the
I
word
know,
Miss
I'm
Wall was
sorry.
looking for. You can't see the smile on my face, but watching her look for that word was funny. So yes, so single user, collaborative experiences with Google Docs. And then finally, the last thing we want to talk about is HyperDocs. If you don't know, you can set up activities in a Google Doc that you can embed links to other activities. You can embed links to other websites. You can embed links to videos you want students to watch and answer questions about. But I created one the other day after a training on how we should give students choice in their activities. So when I looked at that, I said, let me create a choice board for students in this Google Doc. So I set up a table that had about 12 options, and I did it based on each column was a different level of web's depth of knowledge. So I had level 1 DOK, level 2, 3, and 4. And each of the activities in the squares there corresponded to verbs on the web depth of knowledge list. And then I told the students they had to pick one activity from each of the columns to complete with the article they chose to read. And then if you don't know this, you can make bookmarks of your activity. So in your Google Doc, as you create an activity on another page, you can highlight the name of that activity and say insert a bookmark. Then you can go back up to your little square where they're picking the activities and insert a link to the bookmark for that activity. And so when you're done, all the student has to do is click the link in the square, and it jumps to that page in the document that has the activity they're looking for. So when we say HyperDocs, we're talking about a document in Google that has links to other places in the document, other websites, videos, anything that you can click a link
to. Videos, all kinds of stuff in there.
So your document becomes alive, really. It's a live document that students can interact with and go other places. And it really this is way far and above what Microsoft Office is letting you do with a Word document. So if you get an opportunity, if you've never played with Google Docs, we are telling you now, we're passionate about what you can do with Google tools online. Today's just Docs. We got a long way to go.
Right. And something I also want to say is we talk about this, and this is what we use in our classroom. However, we do this for personal reasons as well. You know, with all of these Google tools, I'm struggling again today, but all of these tools that we talk about, these are things that we use outside of the classroom. Sometimes it's things to help us with teaching and with what we do in the classroom. However, on our personal accounts, we use Google Docs to share different documents that we're working on for different things. We've done it in the past when we were working on a master's program. There's also, you know, just the other tools we use for, you know, like Sheets and Keep and things like that we use for, you know, household budgets. And
Google Docs is great for
creating stuff. And of course, we use it for our Wall Ed Tech stuff all the time.
It's also fantastic for collaborative lesson planning. If you've got multiple teachers of the same subject, share those things and work together to get things done.
Right.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. We hope you are as excited to get out and try Google Docs as we are. And if you already use them, hoping we gave you some good ideas of what to do with them or some new things to do with those Google Docs. If you need some help with that, shoot us an email, send us a message on Twitter, or you can leave us a message in the Flipgrid about how you're using Google Docs, and we may share that on our program. I also want to make sure you know that we do have some videos on our website, some how-to videos on how to insert a link, how to share your documents in Drive. So if you're wondering, how do I create those collaborative experiences and share those things, we have how-to videos. Go to the YouTube section of our website and check out, there was a 60 days of tech tips where we have a whole bunch of YouTube videos where you are screencast on how to do things, and we're going to reorganize that here soon so that it's easier to look for what you want to watch on our website. So look forward to those updates as well. Our next podcast, we're going to talk about slides, so we're looking forward to that. So working through the Google tools, and we'll move on to Google Slides in our next edition. For Kari Wall, this is Jared Wall with Wall Ed Tech, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Wall to Wall Podcast. You can get all of our podcasts by subscribing to Wall to Wall Podcast on iTunes. For more resources, visit walledtech.com. You can follow us on Twitter or find us on Facebook. Just search for Wall Ed Tech. If you have questions, comments, or things you want us to talk about, visit Wall Ed Tech and send us an email, tweet, or message us on Facebook. We look forward to hearing from you.